Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy podcast, Holistic Transformation. I'm your host, Dr. Beverly, and today our special guest is Paige Frisone. Today she will talk to us about the missing link in health and wellness protocols. She is a subconscious health guide dedicated to helping people heal sustainably by processing traumas that live in the invisible brain, the same part that signals present day dis-ease and disorder, dysfunction, and emotional life stress. Welcome, Paige.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Dr. Beverly. I'm excited to be here.
Well, tell us about this subconscious health and how you got into all of this. What's your story?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I have a very diverse background. Of course, I feel it's extremely important to have integrity in the work that we do as any type of practitioner. And so I couldn't do what I do right now without having walked the walk. I have a pretty filled history as far as experiencing various traumas from a young age in the home, in school, being bullied, spiritual and psychic trauma, having chronic night terrors, going to bed every night, inevitably waking up screaming and not being able to articulate what was going on, essentially just being completely invaded in my body and having certain programming throughout my life that manifested later in my teen years as far as severe depression, anxiety, self-harm, and anorexia, which proceeded to take a decade of my life. So I was a firsthand experiencer of the Western medicine system. I was on about 6 or 7 cocktails of prescription medication that I took myself cold turkey off of when I was 26. And I always tell people, don't do that. I always say that's not recommended, but it happened for me exactly the way it needed to happen. So at that time, I wasn't able to hold down a job or a relationship or even finish school, although I was so passionate about the therapy world in general and different alternative modalities. So it took me a long time of struggling in my own ways to come back to understand the thing that I was missing in my treatment that I really needed at the time, which is understanding the subconscious mind, the part of the brain that is reactive and autonomic and responsible for manifested dis-ease and disorder, like Dr. Beverly said. So I needed that education and I needed that support. And that isn't something that is very present in the Western world these days. And I'm not anti-Western at all. I do actually integrative work, which includes the Eastern and Western combined, but it's just filled my passion for what I do because I know there's a huge gap in the market right now.
There is, and I agree completely because Western medicine pretty much almost killed me. If I hadn't switched, I would be dead. Yeah, so I get that completely, and we do need to change the mindset so many people have of you go to the doctor, they give you a pill, and then you're done. No, you got sick because of your mind, your emotions, your eating habits, your daily routine, whatever it is. That's what's got to change if you want to heal.
Absolutely. And I love this about holistic health. And I love like so many people I've been speaking to recently are extremely self-aware. They're like, I know X, Y, and Z about my life, and I know who I am, and I know why these things are happening, but there's such a lack of education around what to do about it. And yes, taking those small action steps as it pertains to our basics, like you're talking about, like the rest, how's your sleep hygiene, how's your food and diet and exercise, how are you meditating or not, or yoga or not, like what is that look like for you, and how can we customize an action step plan that makes the most sense for you? And how can we process the emotions that are trapped in the brain in a way that's creating symptomatology that's not working for you, right? And I've also been studying a lot recently about how some people address the root cause, and I claim that I do that as well, but I don't think there is just one root cause. There are so many root causes that are responsible for informing our present day circumstances. And often that can come from this lifetime, conception of 7, of course, when our brains are wet cement on a developmental level. And then there's also past life trauma. And I always say, you don't have to believe in past lives in order for us to locate the fact that consciousness is infinite and we have archives archived memories. Some people might call it Akashic records, right? Like we have access to ancient DNA. We are comprised of ancient DNA that is still recorded in present day that we're living from. And then we also have the generational influence on both sides of the family, which of course there's some spiritual debate and existential inquiry around how far back ancestry actually goes before you journey into past lives. But either way, if you have a system or if you have a practice that's integrative in nature, I have found amongst a lot of holistic practitioners, right, like you included, Dr. Beverly, that we have such a passion for helping people bridge the gap between the things that they might know that are not working for them and the things that they don't even know aren't working for them. And we can really create, that vocabulary and that language for them in a way that supports where they are, validates where they are, and can help them take those next steps that maybe involve prescription meds, but more often than not do not require prescription meds, right?
Yeah, they don't. Most of the time it's change what you're eating or what drinking. Water is so important. That should be the first thing you drink, not all these weird things you get at the store.
Oh my gosh. And even if we could swap one thing, like one thing that you're doing in your life, create more intention around what you're doing, right? There's so much progress that can be made, even on a cellular level, that we might not even know our body is needing at the time. So intuition is so helpful here because I really do believe that everyone has the answers within them to what it is that they're needing to do to heal. But we do need guides and practitioners and support and resources to help us get to that place that makes the most sense for that person. So I'm very person-centered, and I really love to help clients find what works for them, given the resources they have, the environment that they're in, and what their willingness looks like at that time.
Yeah, that's very important to work within their own paradigms and what they're willing to change. So talk some more about understanding the subconscious mind and how that affects our health and healing the body.
Absolutely right. Subconscious is such a nebulous word these days, even though for me, it's very psychologically driven. We have the conscious mind, which is 5% of the brain. It's what dictates what I'm saying to you right now. And it's very logical. It's something that we might use to make decisions. Do I want a salad for lunch or do I want yogurt, right? Do I want to go to bed now or do I want to go for a walk? Those things we're in complete control over. And we often hyper prioritize that part because we perceive that that's the dominant part, but it's not. So the subconscious part is the other part of the conscious mind. It's the subconscious. So it's below the surface. It's invisible. That's why I love calling it the invisible brain or the invisible realm. And it's reactive. It's reptilian. It's autonomic. It's what's responsible for our involuntary movements, like our blinking, our yawning, our breath, our dreams. It's also, what's responsible for presenting disorder, dis-ease in the body, emotional patterns, thoughts that are subliminally on a loop that are controlling us. So essentially, I love to explain to people, this is 95%. This is the dominant part, and anything and everything that you're experiencing in your life that you would never in a million years choose to experience is coming from a different place. And so some people might know that, like a lot of people might have that basic understanding, especially like therapists and people in the psychology field, psychiatrists. A lot of people know this, doctors know this. And a lot of those people don't necessarily have the vocabulary to bring the invisible to the visible. Like we know that this is a part of our anatomy. We know this is a part of our existence as humans, but we don't know what to do with it. And so I love having this work where we can journey into the subconscious with its own rules and its own regulations and honoring this very mystical, but also scientific part of our system that can help us, again, like upgrade, up level, whatever you want to call it, into the next best versions of ourselves.
So one of the things that's really important, I think, for everybody are our values. So what values fuel your work?
Yeah, this is a great question. Number one, as I mentioned, integrity. I think, especially in the world of energetics, which, I love energetics. There's a time and place for everything. And there are components of this work that are very energy based because cells on a quantum level, atoms on a quantum level are all electricity. It's about energy in motion. That's what emotion is, right? And at the same time, it's not 100% an energetic based practice. So I don't fall completely into that Eastern world, which is why it's integrative work. But I do feel very much like it's important for people to know that they are designed to heal. They're designed to regenerate and completely be whole. And as a result, I don't feel like I would be able to be this passionate or to be this integrous if I wasn't doing my research and my laser-like discernment to see what people are doing out there that maybe borders on dangerous. There's something about like ethics as practitioners that I'm very passionate about, which involves like, have you walked the walk? Do you have firsthand inquiry? Because we don't prioritize life experience in the world of resumes and corporate. And that life experience matters to me almost the most. Like, yeah, sure, have some level of education, have some level of professional experience, absolutely. But like, who are you that makes me want to trust you, right? Like, what have you been through that makes me think that you actually can guide me through this experience? So as a practitioner, I feel like I've lived a zillion worlds in my small lifetime at this point. And I do feel like I have a lot of experience to share that can resonate with a bunch of different people. And that matters. Like, I love this quote that says, I didn't just come this far to only come this far. I have walked the walk, and I am here to just showcase a vibration. If it resonates for you, fantastic. And if it doesn't, that's okay. But integrity is number one. And I'm very passionate about, you know, like discerning, helping clients discern what's best for them, what psychic voyeurism might look like, what spiritual, you know, boundaries might be crossed if you're in an environment with a practitioner that doesn't feel safe to you, and why that might be, and how to heal from that. So integrity is always number one. And then, of course, compassion. Compassion is like the loving frequency that I do feel can heal so much within all of us as humans on the planet. And then the third one I would name is just embodied presence. And that is something that helps me hold space. It's something that helps me as a projector. We were just talking about human design right before we got on today. And as a projector, as somebody who holds and as somebody who feels so deeply, it is my responsibility, my value to be able to be of service to the client without fixing them, because nobody's broken, right? Without trying to change them if they're not ready to be changed. Like, this is about leading the horse to water, but also meeting them halfway. And I do feel that so much shifting and adjusting can happen just by you being in your center as a practitioner, just by you holding your ground and letting the emotions of the client flow and letting them come to a place of remembering their innate wisdom. That's what I really care about.
You know, I agree with you completely. I have so many colleagues. I went to naturopathic medical school first, and then I went to acupuncture medical school. And I have so many colleagues who eat fast food and crap. And it's like, how can you do that? I make everything from scratch. I drink distilled water. You know, I walk the talk, and it drives me crazy when I meet people who don't. Because how can you have integrity with your patients or clients in your case when you don't have, you don't walk the talk, because you can't understand what they're going through if you don't do it yourself and know, when am I tempted? When do I want to go get something I shouldn't have? And what do I do about it? Because if you don't do it, how can you help someone else get through that?
Totally. And it's interesting with a fast food example, right? Because I'm somebody who's very much like, teach their own, no judgment. At the same time, there are vibrational impacts of the choices that we make. And there are sometimes repercussions, for lack of a better word, that can be energetically translated in a client experience that we don't even know we're technically responsible for. We are co-creators, we're co-operators in any session / in our lives in general. And so for somebody to be in a situation where, and this is very micro example, right? But for them to be a practitioner and they're eating fast food all the time, and then if they're preaching, this is what you need to be eating, there's all of a sudden this repercussion or an impact of a power dynamic. And again, that lack of an integrity piece, not because we're judging what you're eating, but because there's not alignment with the work that you're preaching that you're not practicing. And so it's very nuanced. I feel all of the compassion as far as Like, I want everyone to live their best life. And if you think that fast food is the way to do it, I'd like to pick your brain about that. I don't know if I would agree, but it's about like meeting people where they are. And I think for practitioners to work so hard to meet clients where they are, often they don't meet themselves where they are, and they overcompensate by doing all of the reactive behaviors and all the things they wish they weren't doing in their own life, because we just grasp for self-care sometimes in all these exterior ways when we're not getting those needs met.
Oh, very, very true. Well, it's been great talking to you. Now, I understand you have a free gift for our audience. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite resources. No matter where you are in your healing journey, this is something that can complement or kickstart your practices, whether that's meditation, yoga, what we've talked about as far as food, detox regimen, intentions, mantras. So I like to call it an affirmation and resource kit for sustained health and wellness. And it's available on my website. So that's www.innerrealmwellness.life/free-gift. And you just go ahead, find that page on my website. It's exclusive to you listeners here, so be sure to take advantage. And once you have that, you can start playing with one of the mantras, all of the mantras. There's different categories to work with depending on what you're calling in for yourself. So I hope you have fun and just toy around with whatever works for you.
Nice. So the gift is named Affirmation and Resource Kit for Sustained Health. And if you're on YouTube, the link, I'll post it down below. And if you're listening to the podcast, it's innerrealmwellness.life/free-gift. So thank you so much, Paige. Do you have any closing words?
Gosh, thank you so much, Dr. Beverly, for having me here. I know your podcast is all about people with a transformational message, which is so vast and so important and so inspiring. So I just love leaving these conversations to help remind people that they're designed to heal. Like, you're designed to heal no matter what. And there are also infinite ways to do it. And again, it's not about me saying what is the way, but it's about me helping you find your way. So if you're in need of support, obviously I'm here. Reach out to me anytime. And I really hope that this is of value to those that are listening.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for being our guest today. And everyone, remember to be the light you want to see in the world.